On DC Music Rocks, we're shining a spotlight on the great songs, artists, and incredible people behind the DC region's local music scene. Black Masala is Washington, D.C.'s eclectic high-energy brass band, ranging from gypsy music, Balkan brass, and New Orleans funk to Bhangra and dance music. The band creates an irresistible dance groove packed with funk, gypsy punk, and soul. Did you get all that? Because that was a lot of influences there. Black Masala has made a big impact on one of the most exciting live acts they are one of the most exciting live acts in the region. They're part of a new generation of go-anywhere brass bands, and when they take the stage, their infectious grooves result in a dance party that leaves smiling concert goers eager for the next song. Amazing. I first came across these guys when I first started doing the show. I've been a Black Masala fan. The bassist in my band, Brandon Williams, he was like, hey, listen, you're doing local music. You got to check out Black Masala. And that was about 2 weeks into doing this show, and I've been a fan ever since. So now I have you here. This is a treat. Thanks for being here, guys.
That's so cool. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Now, so talk about Black Masala and how did the band come together?
So basically it happened about, we're going on about 5-6 years now. I met a trombone player who used to live in D.C., and he wanted to do just gypsy brass music. So it started off just me and him in my basement in D.C. working on this music and trying to learn about it a little more and then do our own sort of spin with it. And then the word spread. We went through about 15 bass players and 100 horn players, and eventually we had a band of stable people. But it was great because all the people
of stable people, mentally stable and emotionally stable, and no, maybe not, but they came religiously then.
Yeah, I mean, everyone who was involved with the band had such a huge impact on the group. And I'm talking about before the band was even had a band name. We went through like a ton of different people. And so we just developed from there. We were playing locally like once a month. It's some now defunct venues like the Getaway. There was another venue above there. I can't remember the name. Then we slowly built. I remember our first big show was at Rock and Roll Hotel actually with Congo Sanchez, who's the drummer from Thievery Corporation. And then it just expanded. Then I started trying to get us out of town and things like that. And so now we have pretty much the same group. It's always the same people. Before we had to kind of mix and match quite a bit. You know, when you have a band of 7 or 8 people, it's kind of like that. And the music's expanded, obviously, from like just being Balkan influenced to like everything else we do, you know, everything else we listen to. Yeah, so now we're doing about like 120 shows a year on the road a lot. So
holy smokes! Now, does that mean you're doing it full time? Is this your job, or is this?
It's like it's not a full-time job. I also teach music lessons throughout the week, like private lessons.
I see.
Like
okay,
yeah.
So it's the band and then more music. It's lots of music.
It's just pretty much all music. But yeah, I mean, it's when you're handling a band of this size and then at the time booking and managing, it's like its own full-time gig.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and there's many days where you're doing like, or many weeks where you're doing like 40 hours on the band and then like 40 hours at your job and then you're on the road all weekend and you're just like, and it was like that for years, you know. We've been fortunate to start to build a team around us over the last couple of years, so it's taken the pressure off like the one person. But
that's amazing. And what kind of lessons are you teaching? You said you teach lessons on the side too.
Yeah, I teach drums and I teach piano.
Wow, look at that.
Private lessons.
And Andy, you're here with us too. Talk about you and your role with the band.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm part of that team Mike was just talking about. And, you know, right after these guys started, maybe a year or so into the project, I checked them out, I went to a couple of shows, and I became a fan. And that's really how it started. I went to see these guys live, and, you know, like you were saying earlier, they have something special, you know, that unique mix of genres, that high energy that they bring to the show, and it's just a lot of fun. And, you know, if you go to enough shows, eventually, you know, you've seen it all, so to speak. But then when we got to see Black Masala, that was something totally new, something different, something exciting that got me out of the house. And so after going to enough shows, I just started talking to these guys. I was like, hey guys, you have so much potential. I would love to work with you and take things to the next level, help out any way I can. And now I don't even know, three or four years later, this is where we are. So it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. And talk about the name. Where did Black Masala?
It was kind of tricky choosing the name. I just like the word masala. I remember going over it, and then we wanted a color to go with it, and black was like kind of like the vibe that people were kind of going for. So it was really that simple. Just take this word masala and put black in front of it, and it's come to signify sort of like masala is like a spice that's comprised of a bunch of different spices, so it's like a mixture. So it kind of works in that way too, if you want to take some
Which,
hidden meaning.
by the way,
into
is
it.
not to be confused with marsala.
No.
Which is, does that ever happen?
That happens all the time. Happens all the time.
Oh man.
Yeah. We rage in the background and try not to show it, but we're secretly very upset about that.
Upset when they say this is black marsala. That is so wrong.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, we drove all the way to Pittsburgh one time for a show, which was like about 7 hours that day, and we got to the venue and it said black marsala, and then underneath it pasta night. And I lost it. I just lost. I mean, we just like fell over. True story.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that awesome.
Oh man, Mike, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so now what about, so you outside of the music then? Obviously this is a lot of your life then, but you must have some other hobbies. Talk about that.
Yeah, we like to drive. Do a lot of driving. And when we're not driving, we like to sleep. No, there's some other hobbies. We just try to stay, and I'm going to speak for the rest of the band too because they're not here, but try to stay healthy, just enjoy like going out, hiking, doing things like that, especially when we're on the road, because we get to hit a bunch of beautiful places like West Virginia. So we'll spend the day going out, hiking, go swimming, whatever. So, but it's so much of this group is working, So it's a lot of time spent writing, it's a lot of time spent organizing, things like that. So.
Wow. And is it mostly, do you do a lot of the heavy lifting, or does all the band pitch in for the writing and the organizing and all that?
Well, I think it's just kind of fallen on me. I never really wanted to be just the sole person, but people kind of like look at me that way. I do a lot of the writing. It's just because I like writing music and try to get better at it. But I definitely have help, like when it comes to like when we're on the road, all the guys chip in and gals chip in, and help with like the daily whatever.
Got it. Do you guys carpool, or does everybody get there on their own? Is it like everybody in a van or something? Or?
Well, we almost got a van, but we decided against it. So it's 2 cars, usually, when we put 7 people in all the gear.
Holy smokes, in 2 cars. That's impressive.
Yeah.
I hope there's some pictures on social media somewhere of that, because that must be an amazing, it must be packed to the brim, unless they're huge vans or something. 2 cars and 7 people and all the gear for the band? Come on.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. No, we do it. Fortunately, I have a big car, so.
Okay, well, that works.
I got a drummer's car.
Drummer's car. Like, gotta have at least a hatchback, that room in the back.
Yeah.
All right, so now, what about something in your music collection that might surprise us?
That might surprise you. That's a good question. Well, I have a lot of 90s rock and roll. That's a huge part of my music collection. So people listening to the band probably wouldn't think like, oh, that guy likes Dinosaur Jr. or like stuff like that. And I have this huge collection of
Wow.
like 90s rock and roll, Fishbone, Rage Against the Machine, all that stuff I'm really heavy into because I was like a Lollapalooza kid when I was younger. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. All right.
and more bands than that, but yeah.
Oh God, that's funny. And now, talk about a biggest success moment for Black Masala. What comes to mind?
Well, it was pretty amazing because we were a band for 6 months and then we got booked at the Kennedy Center, and so we kind of thought we were doing something right at that point. If you watch the video, it's really funny. We're just so like kind of nervous and kind of new. We wanted it to be perfect, and people are using music stands and stuff like that, and there's music flying on the stage. But that was like a huge moment for us as a band, and I think anytime you book like your first tour, even if it's not successful, you're just excited because you took something that was nothing, wrote music, and then someone in like North Carolina wants to book you. And so that was great. And DC government's been very supportive to our band. We've gotten some nice grants from them over the years that's helped with recording and things like that. These are all nice moments for us.
Those are great moments.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. And the DC government, I give them credit. They are very supportive. They supported me and DC Music Rocks too, and the arts. For the artists in town, they do good things for the artists for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Now this one's for both of you guys. This is my favorite question to ask. If you could offer one piece of advice, what would it be?
Andy?
Honestly, Black Masala, I think, is a great example of the advice that I always give to people, and that's just how much hard work it takes, how much dedication. I feel like I've even had this conversation with you before, Brian.
If you go back and listen to Andy was on the show with Fort Knox Recording a little while ago, and I still remember the advice.
And it just came back to me. But honestly, like I said, I've been working with Mike here now for a few years, and it's great working with him because of what he brings, like his work ethic, and then the whole band. Like, they're professionals. And that just really makes a huge difference. Even just, so specific advice, return your phone calls and your emails promptly when you're booking gigs and when you're making arrangements. It might seem like a small thing to do and you're busy, but just making that time to return those emails or phone calls like promptly shows people how serious you are, professional, and it really just sets the tone for everything going forward. And that kind of advice, I think, is what really makes a difference. And if you want to know what it'll get you all the great success that Black Masala's had, because these guys just work so hard. Like, that's incredible.
Oh, such good advice, too. We reach out to artists for DC Music Rocks. Hey, I want to play you on the show, and we never hear back from them. So, I mean, it really is. Return those emails. I love it, Eddie. What about you, Mike? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I mean, I think when you're in a band, especially if you have someone in the structure of like kind of being responsible for a lot of things, you have to learn how to be a people person with your band because you're dealing with artists, and artists, I've learned this over the years, are a little bit different. They're going to be sensitive about things, and people are going to be moody, and you just have to kind of like work around all these issues. So, you just want to like, be patient and try your best and try to keep it going forward, I guess.
Be patient. Try to be nice.
Try to be nice.
Especially via email.
I recommend, yeah.
Mike is nodding. That's a huge nod that just happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's true. Absolutely. All right, and for those folks who want to find out more about Black Masala and follow you guys, where do they go?
So we have a website, www.blackmasala.com. Super easy. You can just type the band's name in Google and you can find just about everything. Facebook, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, Spotify, or everywhere.
All that stuff. And is there one social media you guys like just a little more than the others?
I've been really enjoying Instagram recently, but our go-to has always been Facebook.